So I have seen a ton of like the predictions, and obviously everyone seems to be very, very high on the Rangers this year, and they would be another team that goes from a losing record to first place. It just happens just about every year in the sport. Are you seeing the same thing?
I'll tell you what, I think that the American League West could be a very tight competition this year. When you consider what's happened in the offseason, I think the Rangers, probably did more to improve themselves than anybody else in the division, but you still have to deal with a Houston team that is going to be excellent, a Seattle team that didn't do anything in the offseason to improve its offense, but still has, one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball. And an athletics team, can we call them Sacramento? Can we call them Las Vegas? An athletics team that I think is going to be a lot better than people maybe give them credit for on paper, which is going to, again, make the division more competitive. So I think it's wide open. I think it's there for the taking. And I'm excited about what the Rangers did as far as, the additions of Joc Pederson and Jake Berger and Kyle Higashioka, and the prospect of having Josh Jung fully healthy in this season. The Rangers were in the bottom third last year as far as slugging was concerned. They were about 20 points below league average in that regard. And I think that, things are pointing up as far as, doing what most offenses want to do now, and that's slug.
Matt, when you got through spring training and took a look at this baseball team over the last month plus, who did you look at and say, all right, that guy's going to have a year, I think? That's somebody who's going to click into place. I'm really excited about what he's got the potential to do this year.
Man, I don't know if you can just pick out one individual. I think, the thing that you think about mostly is, man, let's have these guys healthy and let's get them to the start of the season. But one guy that I think is poised to have a great year is Jake Berger. You're talking about a guy who could hit 30, 35 home runs and be a force there in the middle of the lineup. And I liked what I saw from him. Pretty good defense at first base. Here's a guy who, third base has been his position, but it looks like he's going to be able to make that transition. And if you do get 35 home runs out of Jake Berger, that's an outstanding season.
Mm-hmm. Matt Hicks joining us on the D&M Leasing Hotline here on 105 through the Fan. All right, so it looks like deGrom's going to start on Sunday, and I know there was talk about him maybe being the fifth starter to give him those extra days off, basically for the first month of the season. Will that still set up the same way where the days off early on fall in a place where he can pitch on every sixth day as opposed to every fifth?
Well, obviously they're going to take care of deGrom, right? I mean, he is Jacob deGrom. And so however that happens throughout the course of the year, one thing is for sure, and one thing that we all know from year to year, is how the rotation starts is not how it's going to look in May or June or July. And it's not just Jacob deGrom that the Rangers are going to be, taking care of, coming back from Tommy John surgery. The same is true for Kumar Rocker, same is true for Tyler Mahle. So you're not going to be able to give all three of those guys a particular plan and then stick to that plan throughout. Now, you're probably going to see deGrom get that consideration, maybe more so than others. But I wouldn't necessarily, be concerned about where they fall in the rotation. I think the concern there is just what can we get out of them in terms of innings for the course of the season. We need to be able to keep them healthy. And in the case of, Kumar Rocker, he, gets this spot, in the rotation here at the start of the season because of the injuries to John Gray and Cody Bradford. And he's got an opportunity now here that he can cash on, that he can take advantage of. But, where Jacob deGrom falls, I think, and how the rotation looks is going to change and probably change early here in the season.
You think they have him on an innings limit for the year? Like,
that's a good question. I don't know if there's a magic number that, and I was split just out of thin air 120 innings. I don't know. And if that's something that as the season goes on, okay, we got to dial him back. But the thing of it is, if deGrom is healthy and deGrom starts dealing, in elite Jason deGrom form, you're probably going to want him to continue on as far as, monitoring him goes. And if he's looking good over 5 or 6 innings per start, and keep him going that way.
Matt, Evan Carter, we've talked about this the last couple of days, him not starting the year with the big club. How much is there concern there for you about long-term prospects? Do you think this is just part of, hey, he's a young guy and he needs to clean some things up, or, he's coming back from a year where he didn't get an opportunity to play very much? How do you feel about the Evan Carter situation and your prospects moving forward?
Yeah, there are a lot of factors involved there, right? Number one is the health. He had that back ablation procedure early in the off season, and so given that this is something that could be a recurring thing for him, you hope that they can manage that. But I think that that's probably, number one, to make sure that he's healthy. And then number two, because he only played, not about a quarter of a season last year, he's kind of behind. I mean, people forget, he was in AA most of 2023. It came up to AAA for only about a week. Then, it came to the Rangers for the final month of the season and was the talk of the town, and then helped to lead the team to a World Series title. So when you think about it, the amount of time he's had in the big leagues has not been very much, and especially the amount of at-bats he has seen against left-handed pitching. And so, for Evan, there are a lot of things there. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to be able to get at-bats down in the minor leagues, and he's got to be able to start to, do something against left-handed pitching. I don't think, given his age and given his talent, that Evan Carter is the kind of guy that you want to have back up in the big leagues quickly just to be a platoon player, even though he would be on the strong side of the platoon. I think down the road you see Evan Carter as an everyday player. So how to get him to that is what the Rangers will be concentrating on while he spends time down in the minors.
Hicks, do you think 2023 were they career years for Heim and Adolis, or was last year the blip?
Well, I think you have to talk about those two guys separately. And number one, Adolis is an elite run producer, something like 383 RBIs over the last 4 seasons. And so even in the seasons in which, he's not had the batting average or the on-base percentage or maybe the top slugging, he's still driving in runs. Jonah had that, one terrific year in 2023, and then it peeled off last year. I think probably a number of reasons why, and that's a big reason why the Rangers went out and got Kyle Higashioka, because Higashioka can certainly handle a load, behind the plate. If those two guys end up splitting time roughly 50-50, the hope is that Jonah's offensive production can come back to the kind of numbers, at least rate-wise, that he produced a couple of seasons ago. And, Higashioka is a guy that, for so many years with the Yankees and then last year with the Padres, produced some really good numbers given the amount of time that he played. He played roughly half a season last year with San Diego and hit 17 home runs. So I think you're talking two different situations there. Adolis in spring training looked good, really good to me. And so hopefully he continues that here at the beginning of the season.
Matt Hicks joining us here on 105 Through the Fan. You can hear him at 3:05 calling Rangers Red Sox right here on 105 Through the Fan. He joins us here on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Hicksy, Wyatt Langford is somebody that we're all really excited about, specifically after the end to last season. Is that a reasonable expectation, the way we saw him in September, to say, all right, he's going to pick right back up and start running, or do we need to look at him similar to maybe how we looked at Evan Carter and just say, hey, this is still a young player that's going to go through some time where he's adjusting to things?
Yeah, I think both are true. He is young, and so He's going to have periods during the season where he does struggle. But I'm encouraged by what I saw at spring training from him. I mean, he's a guy that has ridiculous power potential. The more we see him play in the outfield, I think the better that he looks. And so holding down left field and being an everyday left fielder, it's not something that the Rangers have had over recent years going way back. It's been a while since the Rangers can say, okay, this guy has been our left fielder every day. So Wyatt, I think, has the potential to have a terrific season, both offensively and defensively, and could very well be one of the offensive leaders of this ball club.
Are you more excited to call a game in 100-degree Tampa in a minor league ballpark or 100-degree Sacramento in a minor league ballpark?
I have not been to either park. The stories I hear about Sacramento in the dead of summer are not good in terms of weather. I think maybe we get the occasional sea breeze in Tampa, so I think I might have a little more excitement about 100 in Tampa than in Sacramento.
Get ready for a rain delay, I bet, right? Isn't it rain like every day there?
Well, yeah, you could have that. There are a couple of places where we play where you're concerned about rain all of the time. One of those being Cleveland, for sure. Baltimore, Washington being another place where you get rain a lot of the time. But it'll be interesting to see these games played in the minor league parks. At least in Sacramento's case, we know they've sold the season out.
That's good.
It'll be 14,000 people a night at that ball.